Howdy everybody, old Gare out here at the Fishing Shack. Welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report. Here we are in the middle of June already, and I've got my jacket on out here at the Fishing Shack. It's been cool out, cool mornings, and pretty hot fishing in some areas. We have some pretty good reports coming your way. And at the end of the program, Brandon and I selected some great photos. So be sure to stick around for that. We have a good report today. Let's go fishing.
Fish and Chums!
Well, that's right. You know, we've had beautiful weather for June, the middle of June. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, I understand this weekend could be a little tricky, doggone it, but let's hope for the best. But I'll tell you one thing, guys, the water temperature is really starting to drop. It was getting up around 80 or a little over 80. Now, my reports this morning when I did talk to my reporters and my guides, it's went down nearly 4 or 5 degrees. So that's kind of a plus. And good fishing reports. My golly, we want to start out by going the photo of the week out at Table Rock again. My gosh, this was a great story. Preston Greenlee was out the other day, and they were loading up the boat, getting ready to load up the boat. He made one last cast, and look at this bass that Preston caught on his last cast of the day. Preston, that's pretty doggone good. So this shows you the bass fishing is real good out at Table Rock. Now, if you're going to the Rock this weekend, that water temperature's dropped down to around 76 this morning. It was near 80. And so it has dropped. Topwater fishing, you bet. I'd recommend topwater fishing in the morning and evening hours. And I tell you, a good bait right now would be a popper type bait. This is what we caught some fish on the other day, the popper. And like a popper, any kind of a popping bait, works really good. And also they've been picking up some fish on spooks as well. And so that early morning, late evening hours have been pretty doggone good for topwater fishing at Table Rock. Check this out. Now, once the sun gets up on those bright days, what we've been doing is going out on those long gravel points and fishing anywhere from about 15, 25, 35 feet of water. That's when you need to go to the Ned rig. That's been very good. And also they've been picking up some fish on drop shots, of course. And so try that. I think you're going to catch some fish. Now, if you happen to have a windy day on those gravel points, secondary points, some of the bass have been moving up, especially if it's overcast. And you can pick up some fish on square bill crankbaits and, hey, slow roll spinner baits. That may not be too bad. And they've been pitching some, of course, some spoons and grubs out on the deep water spots as well. And the dock fishing, not too bad. They've been pitching some grubs there and also some spoons. And so I think Table Rock will be a good weekend for bass fishing. Depends on the weather. Now, we'll catfish Rick Ellis and I and my buddy Brandon. We were out the other day, and we really picked up some nice walleye. I love the walleye fish on Table Rock. Look at Brandon here. This is my buddy Brandon. Boy, my adopted grandson. I'm his old grandpa. He adopted each other. And Brandon, he's the nucleus behind this report. He does all the work. I send him the photos, and he goes through the photos, and he edits this thing. I tell you what, he does a great job, doesn't he? So Brandon and I caught some walleye the other day and catfish, and it's a nice smallmouth. And so for the walleye, get off the points and secondary points. You can use a couple different baits. You can get out there with a night crawler, kind of a drop shot type night crawler deal, get off the point, secondary points. Use your graph, kind of see what's on these points. If you see any kind of shad activity, I tell you what, we have one gravel point that's loaded with shad, crawdads, and small perch. And boy, the walleye, when they move up there, if you're there, you're going to have some fun. And also, they've been trolling flicker minnows or flicker shads as well. So walleye, getting stronger all the time, like I predicted. It's going to get better as well. Few crappie have been caught out at Table Rock. They've been picking them up, some in the creek areas are clearing up, getting about halfway back in the creeks. They're not so much on the bank right now. They're off the bank, and they're about 15 to 18 feet of water around some of the brush. and they're picking up some crappie at Table Rock around the docks as well. So Table Rock looks pretty doggone good for the upcoming weekend. Hey, I want to say hi to Zander, my old buddy Zander man. Gosh darn it, you were our photo of the week last week, and God bless you, you and I are going fishing here real soon. Well, it's a great photo last week. All right, let's go over to Taneycomo. Now they have been releasing some, not water over the dam anymore, that's all over, but they've been turbines, the turbines have been running mainly in the afternoon hours. They're not doing it so much in the morning hours. And so morning hours, that water's real clear. You got to get out there with light line, 2 or 4 pound test. And you know what I like to do in that situation? Go to those small jigs. I'll use an olive green, a cinnamon, a black with a little bit of chartreuse, a brown, and just get out there with like a 32nd ounce jig. I love to do that. Pitch that thing out, let it drop, swim it back real slow to the boat. Hey, you can catch some fish on these small jigs. And at times when they are generating water, they've been drift fishing using some white jigs, a little bit heavier jig like a 16th ounce, occasionally picking up some fish. And they have been picking up some fish on drift baits like power eggs. And it seems like your white or your pink is good right now. So you might check out Taneycomo. Look at this, folks. That come out. This feller here was out the other day at Trout Holler. Beautiful picture, beautiful trout. So he's saying they're here. Go out here and get these trout. They're biting, that's for sure. All right, let's go on down to Bull Shoals right now. That water temperature out there at Bull Shoals this morning was I think it was like 76 degrees. I think it's dropped a little bit, 76 degrees at Bull Shoals. And early morning hours can be good with topwater baits. The popping baits have been working, also some spooks. And if you find a windy point or a secondary point, you might try a buzz bait. And then once that sun gets up there, just like Table Rock, you need to get out off the shore, get out in deep water, off those long gravel points. Get out there in about 15, 25 feet of water, maybe 30, and your drop shots, your Ned rigs have been working real well out there as well, and they have been picking up some fish on square bill crankbaits in the wind and also slow rolling spinner baits, much like Table Rock, but they've been picking up some nice fish there. Pretty good topwater fishing at times out at Bull Shoals. And the walleye fishing at Bull Shoals is picking up a little bit more, and they've been trolling the deep points out there and get your flicker minnow or flicker shad that will get down around 12 feet, 14 feet if you can. And they have occasionally been picking up a real nice walleye out at Bull Shoals. And sometimes you can get out there if you find them near the bottom with your locators and just flip a spoon and pick up some fish. By the way, you know, a good bet at Bull Shoals too on bass would be, I tell you what, would be grubs. You know, throw like a 1/4 or an 1/8 ounce jig head with like a 4-inch grub tail. Smoke has been good. And I had a couple of reports, a couple nice walleye caught out at Bull Shoals on grubs, you know, swimming grubs slow off these deep points. But flicker shad, flicker minnows, and also spoons, maybe a grub, pick up some walleye at Bull Shoals for the upcoming weekend. All right, let's go out to Stockton. Kevin Matheson was out the other day and picked up this nice boatload of crappie at Stockton. Look at that. And I tell you what, they're catching some nice crappie at Stockton. It might be about halfway back into the creek arms. A lot of the boys are trolling flicker shad or flicker minnows back there, picking up crappie. Occasionally they're picking up some whites and walleye as well back in there. A lot of shad back in the creek areas right now. Some people are going out on the main lake off some of the deep water points and finding the brush piles and picking up some crappie as well. But anyway, crappie fishing, boy, for the boys that's been going out there, have really been picking up some nice fish. That water temperature out there this morning was 76 degrees. And crappie fishing, boy, if you get into them, you can really catch them. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that. By the way, the walleye fishing at Stockton has been pretty good for the few people that's been going out there. The secondary point seems to be good, 25, 30, 35 feet of water. You can get out there with a jig, like a 1/4 ounce jig with a night crawler or a half a night crawler, and also you control your flicker shadows and flicker minnows. And they've been picking up some nice walleye on occasion. Also working that dam area, but the points, mainly the secondary points, seem to be a little bit better. So a lot of water out there, about 15 feet high, but the guys who are getting out there are really picking up some nice fish. The bass fishing's starting to get, it's not too bad at Stockton. In the morning hours, topwater's just starting to come on, and they've been picking up some fish on your Ned rig and drop shots, and they've been throwing some crankbaits as well, picking up some bass out at Stockton. All right, let's go out to Truman. Water temperature was 73 out there, 73 or 74 this morning, in that range. And the lake is high, gosh, 32 feet high, something like this. You're having a hard time. The only problem with Truman right now is all that high water, but you're having a hard time finding a spot to put your boat in. But the old boys, the diehards, are putting their boat in. And they're catching crappie in the willow trees. Some new willow trees out there with all that high water. And if you can find a nice big old cedar tree, try that. And they have been picking up some fish in about 30 feet of water. Experiment around these trees. They may be about halfway down. And jigs or minnows have been working pretty good at Truman for the few people that's been out there. And of course below the dam they're releasing water, and they've been catching some pretty good cats down there the last few days. Occasionally getting some hybrids and white bass, once in a while walleye as well. Backed up just a little bit, let's go to Pawnee Palm. That water temperature is 75 degrees out there. High water, it's high, and not too many people fishing out there right now, but the ones who are picking up some fish, they're getting up early and just starting to catch a few topwater fish at Pawnee. And seems like there are poppers and also some spooks, and they have also been picking up some fish on crankbaits and slow rolling spinner baits out there, and flipping jigs with plastics around some of the brush piles. And they've been having some fair crappie fishing. Get back at the lower end, we'd recommend, and get back some of those coves and points, anything around brush, and get down there. You might pick yourself some crappie up at Pomme de Terre this weekend. All right, let's go out to Lake of the Ozarks. My gosh, if I had a lake to go crappie fishing this weekend, I think I would pick Lake of the Ozarks. Boy, they have really been catching a lot of crappie out there this week. Probably the best in our area anyway. And I wanted to say hi to Ronnie Ray. He was out the other day, just a couple days ago, and look at this, 16-inch plus, about a 16.5-inch crappie, around I think a little over 3 pounds. Wow, that's a great Lake of the Ozarks fish, that's for sure. And then also, Craig was out the other day. He sent us this photo. He was fishing up around around 70, and wow, look at all these fish Greg put in the boat. About filled that boat up. He and his buddies had a limit of very beautiful crappie out at Lake of the Ozarks. So, hey, I tell you what, Lake of the Ozarks, they're using, some people are trolling for crappie out there with your flicker shads or flicker minnows. Other people are getting off the points or secondary points and finding their brush piles, or getting in their summer pattern and vertically fishing for some crappie as well. And they've been picking up some crappie around the docks at Lake of the Ozarks. So Lake of the Ozarks for crappie, boy, you can see the photos speak for themselves. It really looks good out there. And the bass fishing has been pretty good. They're starting to get a topwater bite out there in the morning, and they have been picking up some fish on crankbaits, and bass fishing has been pretty good on swim baits too. So try Lake of the Ozarks this upcoming weekend. Looks good. Boy, those crappie, nice big old crappie out at the lake. Norfolk, well, I tell you what, hey, by the way, don't go anywhere because I've got a great big trout to show you here in a minute. I tell you, out at Norfolk, 74 degrees out there, high water. They've been picking up some stripers out in about 30 to 40 feet of water, I understand. Slowed down a little bit. And come on in, catfish. And also, they have been picking up some nice crappie in the deep water brush piles as well out at Norfolk. Hey, catfish, come on in. Want to say hi. Here's my old buddy, Catfish Rick Ellis. He and I were out the other day, and Brandon, we caught some nice fish. Say hi, folks.
Hello, how you doing?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, catfish. I know you just got back from a big catfishing trip out at up on the James River, and you guys caught some nice cats. And what was your main baits right now up there?
Well, what we like to do is we have these perch traps, and we catch shad in them too, and they just go in them and they can't come back out.
So you're using shad and perch. Sometimes shad are better than the perch. Other times perch are better than the shad.
Yeah. Well, usually shad's the best.
Yeah. Okay.
And then perch is real good right in behind.
I mean, you guys caught some good ones, and you had a couple of your big old strong hooks straightened out. There's some big fish being caught up there.
Yes, we had some on one trout line, or two of them. We had 3 or 4 hooks straightened out on by those great big flatheads.
Are you using crappie hooks or?
Oh, hook? No. Yeah, we're using those great big number whatever, the big ones.
Catfish Rick Ellis. Thanks for stopping by, buddy.
All righty, you have a good day.
All right.
You can catch more fish.
Okay. All right, we'll talk to you in a minute. Hey, and one other report. We got a photo of a 36-pound trout, brown trout. How about this? Padden Flippin was fishing below the dam at Bull Shoals just a couple days ago on his birthday, 24 years old, and caught a 36-pound, 7-ounce brown trout. Wow! Look at this photo. Now that's a birthday present from the fishing gods. What a great fish, Mr. Flippin. Love that name, Flippin, Arkansas. You bet. Out of the great Flippin family. All right, that's about it for the day. I want to thank you very much for being with us. So Catfish and I are getting ready to go fishing. And boy, it's beautiful out here in the Ozarks right now. Beautiful weather, no humidity to speak of. Gosh, what a great time to go fishing. And we have some great photos coming your way. But first of all, we want to invite you to like and share. We really appreciate this for you folks that's watching on YouTube. And this brings me to a point. Thank you for all the thousands of viewers watching every week on YouTube, on YouTube, I should say, and also Facebook and all of our groups. We love our groups. Gosh darn, they're sending a lot of photos in, a lot of viewers, and we really appreciate it. So like and share, and be sure to subscribe. Push that button. I think Brandon's going to put that up there. We love our new subscribers. And of course, if you have any photos or fishing information, we're getting a lot of people emailing us each week. Just go to our email at fishingchums@gmail.com. Hey, boy, the weather will cooperate this weekend. You're going to come home with a sore thumb. I hope so. Happy outdoors. Brandon, roll those great photos.